Hello, and welcome to episode 49 of 10,000 Stitches Podcast, a weekly chit chat all about the joys of sock knitting. My name is Andy, and I like knitting socks, I gotta say it. If you're looking for me on the interwebs, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Ravelry as Purlbug, P-U-R-L-B-U-G. You can find my blog at thepurlbug.com, and we have the 10,000 Stitches Podcast group on Ravelry. If you're looking for links to any patterns or shops or other podcasts or anything like that I mentioned today, if you're watching this in the embedded video on the blog or on the Ravelry thread, everything will be linked right below. If you're watching this on YouTube, in the description box below the video will be a link to the blog post for this episode, and then you can go there and everything will be linked below the video. Whew. I just got home from walking back from campus, and I'm like really warm now because now that it's getting cooler out, like my body adjusts to the coolness outside, and then as soon as I come inside where it's warmer, then I'm like way too warm. So I'm sorry if I'm really red. Also, if you hear any clicking or anything in the background, that's not you, that's me. Well, actually it's Wesley. He's standing right kind of behind the camera playing on the computer. So I didn't want to kick him out of here, but we have a mechanical keyboard and a fancy schmancy mouse that makes a lot of noise. So if you hear that, that's him. It's not you. I'm currently recording on Sunday, November 27th. This episode will go live on Tuesday, November 29th. So yeah. All right. I don't have any notes for today, but we're going to follow kind of the normal format. We'll talk about finished objects, works in progress, what's coming up next, knit along, question of the week, and then chit chat. So I have nothing prepared, so yeah. Finished object, I finished those socks that I was making using that Quantum Dot kit from PhD Yarns, and I don't have them to show you because I actually was wearing them yesterday. So before I put them on yesterday, I recorded a quick little video just kind of showing them off and talking about them. So I will cut that in here. Hey guys. This is the Saturday version of Andy here, so even further in the past than the one who was just on screen. But I wanted to show you these socks because these are my finished object for the week, but I am just about to put them on my feet, and so unless by some miracle I wind up doing a bunch of laundry, as soon as I get home from our trip, these aren't going to be clean to show you guys. I figured I'd go ahead and show you now. So these are my socks that were made using the Quantum Dots kit from PhD Yarns. So this kit was, I think, number 1111, if I remember correctly. And it's this sort of blue speckly yarn with some little bits of pink in it. And then because this was part of a Quantum Dots kit, it comes with 2 mini skeins. One was in this kind of teal color, and then the other was in this pink. So the pink was a 5-gram mini skein, and the teal was a 10-gram. So I used the teal for the cuffs on both of them, and then with the pink I did a little 5-row stripe here, and then a little 5-row stripe right down at the toe. Otherwise these are vanilla. I think it was about 90 rows on the leg plus 20 rows of ribbing, standard slip stitch heel flap, gusset, and then just a vanilla foot. So I think it was 100 rows total between the end of the heel and when I started the pink for the toe. 72 stitch sock knit on US size zeros, which are a 2mm needle. So it's a really, very sort of sturdy, thick fabric. And I'm really excited to wear them today. So yeah, that's my finished object for the week. And now back to slightly less in the past me to tell you about whatever else I was going to tell you about. All right, and we're back now. So hopefully that made sense. But yeah, I wore them all day yesterday and they were super comfy. I actually wound up cuffing them down yesterday because they had a really long leg on them. And normally if I have socks where I've knit a longer leg, I just wear them with the leg up. But because we were in DC all weekend, and I think on Friday we walked 29,000 steps. So my legs were just a little bit swollen, not swollen, but a little bit swollen from just walking so much. And so I didn't like having the legs up. So I actually cuffed my socks down yesterday, which was a first for me. But yeah, otherwise they were super comfortable and I enjoyed wearing them all day, and I look forward to wearing them a lot in the future. So that's my finished object. Now for works in progress, I have a half object to show, and then I have a couple of not quite halfway done objects, but half object. These are a pair of socks that I started on Well, I started them Wednesday night, but I worked on them mostly over the weekend. These were kind of my travel knitting. And so I have one of them done. This is a sock for Wesley. This yarn is, let's see, it's Cascade Heritage Quattro, which is basically, the Quattro I think just means that it has like, you know, kind of 4 different colors all combined in one strand. So it kind of gives like a tweedy sort of effect. But yeah, it's Heritage Quattro in the color 5664. So yeah, this is the first one. He likes shorter socks, so I did it shorter. So I basically did 20 rows of 2x2 ribbing for the cuff. And then the stitch pattern I was using was from the Syncopation socks, which I've actually made before for my younger brother, and he really likes them. It's like a really good, like, kind of staggered rib pattern that is a good one for like men who want something simple, but you don't want to knit like just a plain vanilla sock. So it's like a 3x1 staggered rib. It's a free pattern. I'll link it. But yeah, I did 20 rows of 2x2 rib, and then I did half of a pattern repeat. Then I did kind of a standard, I have partridge heel flap and gusset, and then I did a total of 8 pattern repeats before I started the toe. So this one is a 68 stitch sock, worked on US size 1s, which are 2.25 millimeter needles. And yeah, I started the other one on the train yesterday. I finished this one up on the train back, and then I started this one, and I'm partway through the ribbing. So I've kind of just not really worked on it since then, because you know, this is good knitting that I can take with me to work and work on, you know, kind of as I'm like teaching or whatever. So I figured I would leave that and work on a couple of other things that were better suited to doing at home. So that's one work in progress. I actually have 3 right now. So yeah. The other one is what became of the Super Secret project. So the Super Secret project that I was working on was a hat for Wesley. I was working on it out of this, I suppose I can grab it. It's not right in front of me, but I can go grab it. I'll be right back. Ugh. So I was working on it using this yarn, which is from Holiday Yarns, and this is a colorway called Vikings Win, and it's Vikings colors, which is our home team from Minnesota. And so I was knitting a hat for him out of this. The pattern I was using is 2x2 ribbed for his pleasure, I think is what it's called. And so I was knitting out of this, but this being a variegated yarn, it was striping. And if I can find a picture, I will try and put a picture in of it right now. But it was, you know, kind of doing these like helical stripes with the way the color was pooling. And I was starting to get worried that he wasn't really going to like it. And I was knitting it on US size 1s, which is what the pattern calls for. But like, because I'm such a tight knitter and it's like ribbing, it was coming out really tight. So I just wasn't really confident about it, and I showed it to Wesley, and he said that he was not crazy about the colors. So I frogged that, rewound it up into this ball, and I restarted with a different skein of yarn that I have, which is another one for PhD Yarns. This one is Dissertation, which is a 100% merino base. Still fingering weight. The color is Mad Scientist, so that's a little tag from it. And it is this really, really pretty, you know, sort of tonal blue. So I recast it on, same number of stitches and everything as the pattern calls for, but I am doing it now on US size 1.5s, which are 2.5 millimeter needles. And these are the wooden ones that I knit the Diversity socks out of. So like, because they're wooden, I don't tend to knit as tight on them as I would with metal needles. And so this is how far I've gotten. So I still have a long, long way to do. But yeah, it's working up very nicely. He really likes it. It's sort of just this very tonal, pretty blue. So yeah, that's work in progress number 2. And this one is one where I can't work on it for too long at a time, because just like it's so many stitches and the 2x2 ribbing, and it just kind of makes my wrists hurt after a little while. So like, I've just kind of been picking away at it, and I will just continue to do so until it's finished. So, yeah. And then my other work in progress is something that I started last night, I guess. And this is a hat for myself. And this is made out of some yarn that I got last year for Christmas from my older brother. And I just wasn't really sure what to do with it. It is Madeline Tosh, and it is the Tosh Merino Light. And this is a 100% superwash merino and fingering weight. The colorway of this one is Esoteric. This is what the yarn itself looks like. It's this really pretty, like, dark teal kind of color. So yeah, the colorway is Esoteric. And the thing about this one is that it is a single. So I don't know if you can actually see that. But it is a single, and I'm not crazy about singles. I'm just not really sure what to do with them. So it has just sort of sat in my stash, since last Christmas. And I wasn't really sure what to do with it, but it's so pretty. And I was like, I need to find something to do with this. So I decided to make a traveling cables hat. And that's a pattern by Pearl Soho. It's a free pattern. I'll link it. I decided to make one of those hats with it. And that pattern calls for a worsted weight yarn. And so I am holding this one double. And here you can kind of see that there's 2 strands. So I actually wound it up from the hank into the ball double, so now I can just pull it off the ball. But yeah, I'm about this far. I am about halfway through one of the cable chart repeats, I think, or maybe a little bit less than that. And I say chart, there is no chart for it. I actually charted it out myself. So once I'm done with this and make sure that the chart is actually correct, I will probably put it on my pattern page, because all they have is written instructions, and I do not like written instructions. So yeah, I know I can't be alone in that. So I will probably put the chart up for others to use if they want it. But yeah, I am really loving it. Holding the 2 strands together makes this like a super duper squishy hat, and I'm just really excited about it. That's kind of a close-up of how it's knitting up. And I am knitting this on basically what the pattern calls for, which is a US size 5 for the ribbing down here, which is a 3.75 millimeter needle, I think, and then a US 6 for the body, which is a 4 millimeter needle. And I'm knitting it on 16-inch circulars, and then I have a set of double points that I will use for the top. So yeah, really loving this, and because of the cables and stuff in it, it's kind of one of those things to where I'm probably just going to work on this at home, because I'd like to be able to keep the chart handy and everything. So yeah. And this one, I'm a big fan of doing cables without a cable needle. This one I'm actually sort of using a cable needle because, I have a set of the double points for the size 6. And with this, doing the 3x3 crosses is proving to be a little bit tougher without a cable needle, because I'm holding the yarn double stranded. So it's like more loops to possibly drop. So with this one, I actually am kind of using a cable needle, but only because it's helpful in this scenario. Typically I'm like, if it's not needed, don't use it. But yeah, that's my other work in progress, and hopefully I will wrap some of these hats up soon. So for what's coming up next, the next pair of socks I want to make after these socks are done for Wesley is the Aquaphobia socks, which are, if I am reading the pattern correctly, it's a sock that basically the entire top of it is done in sort of like an Eye of Partridge sort of pattern. It's like this slip stitch pattern that's supposed to break up yarn that tends to pool. And so I'm going to be doing that with my Christmas yarn that I dyed myself. I showed this off last week, I think. So this is what I'll be using for that. I need to take another look at the pattern and maybe even do some swatching, but I think with that one I might use a different size needle for the slip stitch part and the rest of it, because otherwise I'm afraid that they're going to come out to be very different gauges and sizes. So we'll see about that. Hopefully by next week I will have a start to that to show you. And then as soon as so this will probably be done on US size 0s, and then if I use another needle I'll use a 1.5 for the other part of it. And then as soon as I get my size 1s cleared off, the size 1s being the ones with Wesley socks on them, these are going to stay empty for just a few more days, because then I will be starting my Advent scrap socks. So these are still in the same bag that I showed off last week. These are my little 5-gram mini balls for my Advent socks. I will hopefully be finding a better home for them this afternoon, because we're going to run up to Target after this. Because I think I mentioned last week that the solution that I had come up with for them wasn't going to work. So I need to find something else. But I'm realizing like it is really getting to the end of November. I really need to, be ready to start those soon. And especially because I might start them a couple days early rather than like December 1st. I might start them a day or two early because I want to have them done before we leave for our holiday vacation. So we'll see. But yeah, that's the stuff that's coming up next. So Aquaphobia and my Advent socks. So I'm super excited about that. And yeah, let's see, where am I? All right, I should pause and then come back. All right, so let's talk about some new stuff that I got. I think I mentioned, if not this episode, I mentioned before that we were in DC for Thanksgiving. So I went to my favorite, the only yarn store I've been to in DC. So far it's my favorite, which is Looped Yarn Works, and I will link them. But I went there and picked up some stuff. Unfortunately, I missed their like Black Friday sort of sale because they did it on Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and we didn't get up there till Thursday. So we went there yesterday, which was Saturday, before our train back home. So I picked up just a couple of goodies, and yeah, let's check it out. So I picked up some needles, and mostly the needles that I got were the ones for my traveling cables hats. So I picked up, the 5 US size 5 and 6 circulars, and then the US 6 double points. So yeah, not super exciting, but I always just like to buy needles in person because, I don't know, like there's less risk of them getting damaged in the mail that way. And then, I don't have to pay shipping for them, which I just always kind of hate with like needles because the shipping is just as much as the needles themselves. And yeah, so I figured I would just buy those in person. And then I picked up, speaking of not exciting things, I picked up a bottle of Wool Wash. This is a tiny little bottle of soak. And holy cow, is this stuff expensive. Like, I don't know if this is just because of the way they price it, but this is a 3-ounce bottle, and this was $10.25. So it says that this is 18 washes. So, I mean, it's less than $1 a wash. And I know that I should be saying like, oh, it's totally worth it. Totally not. Like, the Wool Wash I've used before has been Eucalan, which I think if I were to buy Wool Wash again, I would go with Eucalan again because it's cheaper. But I bought this mostly so that I could wash hats with this because, especially making hats like out of singles and stuff like that, I would just prefer not to put hats in the washing machine. And I'm really starting to feel like I want to give, hand washing my socks another go. So I figured I'd pick up a small one, see if I can get back into the habit of it, and then if I can, I'll buy a bigger bottle of something cheaper. But yeah, so I bought that in the fig scent, which I haven't even smelled yet because I think it has a little, because it's sealed. So I haven't smelled it. I asked the chick who was working there which one's her favorite, and she said this was her favorite. So I was like, whatever, it's only a 3-ounce bottle, so I'll go with this one, and if I decide I don't like it, I'll buy a different scent. But yeah, that's the other boring thing. Then yarn. So, you guys know I like me some Perfect yarn, the Regia Perfect. So I bought 2 skeins of it. They actually had all of the Perfect that they had was on sale for, I think, 30% off. So this is normally $17.75, and it cost me, how much? It cost me $12.43 a skein. So like $12.43 a pair is not bad for a pair of socks. So I got, this one is the color 07118, which looks like that. And then this one is the color 07114, and it looks like that. So I liked it. This one seems like it's kind of like a good sort of neutral set of like masculine colors. So if I wanted to make these for like a guy I don't know. Wesley won't wear them because he doesn't like high socks, but I could make them for, a guy, and that would be just a good thing to kind of have in your stash. And then this one is definitely more fun, but still not too fun. So like these could be a good gift for someone. And I really like kind of the Regia Perfect because, when I'm gifting socks, I don't always care about them matching, but like it is kind of nice to give someone a matching pair of socks if you don't know that they, like or don't like matching socks. And, Regia being like a nice hard wearing, wool, I can say like, oh, it's fine. Just chuck it in the wash. It'll be fine. It's super wash. It wears well, so it's not going to get a bunch of holes in it the first time they wear them. So yeah, I just really like this for like gift knitting. So I figured, what the heck, it's on sale, I'll pick up 2 balls. So I picked up those, and then I picked up a yarn that is new to me, that I've never knit with before. And this is the Berroco Ultra Alpaca Fine. So this is a fingering weight yarn, 400 meters, 400 meters and 100 grams. And this yarn is 50% Peruvian wool, 30% nylon, and 20% superfine alpaca. And so it's this pretty kind of magenta kind of color. This colorway is 1267. So I really liked it. I thought it was just really pretty. It kind of feels to me like slightly softer than, like a Regia type yarn, but it's not, as soft as merino. And you can see it's just a little bit kind of fuzzy or hairy, but not like a ton. But I mean, it says it can be machine washed. So I thought, you know what, maybe this could work for making socks. And I looked it up on Ravelry, and people have made socks out of it. And it was $13.25 for a skein. So I figured, what the heck, I'll give it a shot. So we'll see. I don't have any plans immediately for this one. It might just go into my stash, all 3 of these are kind of just going to go into my stash. But I figured, what the heck, I would pick them up. We'll see what happens with them. So yeah, that's new stuff. And then let's talk about Knit Along. I just checked, and I just counted it, and I don't remember now. There's either 9 or 10 finished objects in the finished objects thread. So yay, we're coming up on the end of the first month. So I'm hoping we'll see a lot of, more finished objects coming in as people kind of wrap things up. I guess something that I hadn't really thought about from the beginning, but this is the whole like sock yarn isn't just for socks knit along, like basically you can either knit socks or you can knit anything else out of a fingering weight yarn. And something I hadn't thought of before is what I'm doing for my hat, which is, if you have a fingering weight yarn that's like a single, like this is, and you're like, I don't know what to do with singles, or, again, it's too pretty or whatever, you could always hold it double and make a worsted weight project out of it. Or I guess even hold it triple maybe and make a like a bulky weight project. But like, that's a really good way to use up your yarn without having to do a fingering weight project. So yeah, hadn't thought about that, but that is definitely a good option. And like with this one, I know that there's also a Madeline Tosh light that is like a bright neon highlighter yellow that I would definitely, I think, do this again with, because it's just too bright and too colorful. But yeah, so that's another option if you are, wanting to participate in the knit along, and maybe you have some fingering weight yarn, but you don't want to do, a pair of socks or a fingering weight shawl or something. Hold it double, do a worsted weight hat. Totally works for me. So yeah, that's the knit along. Question of the week. I honestly can't remember what my question of the week last week was. I remember people answered it, and I appreciated it, but like, I'm tired. Like I said, I'm still recovering from like Thanksgiving vacation brain. So, and I don't really have a good question of the week this week, so we will skip that this week. And yeah, I guess that's going to be it for the yarn type stuff. I also need to go run and get a computer charger because my computer has 11% battery left. So if I want to record chit chat, I need to get a charger for it. But yeah, that's going to be it for the knitting type stuff. So if that's all you're here for, thanks very much for hanging around. I feel like there's so many things I wanted to talk about and I just completely forgot, but that's what happens when you don't make notes. So that's life. But yeah, if you're only here for the knitting, thanks very much for watching. I'll see you next week. Otherwise, if you want to hear about our trip to DC, hang around for some chit chat. All right, so chit chat. Most of this will just be about our trip to DC because otherwise the week, kind of the part of the week that was before that, was pretty boring because, we didn't have any labs running because it was a partial week. So like work was pretty slow, and otherwise I was mostly just trying to get homework finished up for my class because our homework is due on Fridays, but I wanted to have it turned in before we left for our trip because I wasn't bringing a computer with me. So I was really just scrambling to get my homework done. So let's talk about our trip to DC, shall we? So we were going up there just because, for Thanksgiving, it doesn't make sense for us to go home because we're going home in like a month for Christmas, and flying home is kind of expensive. So we figured that, if we're going to stay here, let's do something we want to do. Like, we actually stayed here in Richmond for Thanksgiving last year, and it was just kind of boring. So, whatever, we'll go up to DC. So we took the train up on Thursday, on Thanksgiving. We left at 8:30 in the morning, I think, took the train up, got in about 11, and couldn't check into our hotel until 3. So, we had lunch at Union Station, and then we went and saw some stuff. I'm trying to think of, what we did. We went to the Postal Museum, because it's right next to the train station. And I thought the Postal Museum was kind of meh. Wesley thought it was okay. I thought it was meh. I just wasn't that interested in it. And then I'm trying to think of what we did after that. We went to the Botanical Gardens, which was the first time either of us had ever been there. And it was really cool. This was the first day they had this big holiday kind of exhibit set up, which had model trains and stuff. But mostly it was just really cool because I like botanical gardens and I find them really kind of interesting, and I don't know anything about plants, but I enjoy seeing plants from around the world. So it was really fun. The only bummer was that it was, it's really warm inside because of course they have to keep it more tropical. And we were wearing, coats and hats and had our backpacks with us because we hadn't gone to the hotel yet. So that was a little bit of a drag. But yeah, that was really fun. And then we tried to go to the Capitol to go to the visitor center for the Capitol, but that was closed, of course. So couldn't do that. And then I think by about that time, it was time we could, go and check into our hotel. So we checked into our hotel and then walked down to the Whole Foods that's in Foggy Bottom, which we've been to before. And, because Whole Foods is their to-go hot bar kind of stuff. So we grabbed some food and then went back to our hotel, had dinner, and then just sat around and watched TV all night pretty much, which was really fun. I mean, we were tired too because we'd been walking around all morning with our backpacks and stuff. So yeah, we just kind of hung out and relaxed and had a chill night. And then Friday, my body decided it wanted to wake up at 4 a.m. It's I know you're not going Black Friday shopping, but I'm going to wake up as if we are. So I woke up super early and then finally woke Wesley up at 6 or 7. And then we, kind of had coffee and breakfast and we're bored. So we're let's go do things. So we left about 8 and went out and started walking towards the mall. And the hotel we were staying in was really close to the White House. So it's not as if we were super far off the mall. So we started walking towards the mall and then I realized I have to go to the bathroom. And of course, nothing is open at 8 o'clock in the morning. None of the museums open up until 10. Luckily, the Smithsonian Castle was open at 8:30. So we ducked in there, went to the bathroom, and actually went into a part of the Smithsonian Castle that I'd never been in before. And I will try and put in pictures if I haven't already been doing that, if there's any pictures that I have. I will be trying to put in pictures of things that maybe I took that I mentioned. But yeah, we went into this other cool little area of the Smithsonian Castle that had all these displays and stuff, and it was just really pretty, super cool looking. Did that, and then it was still too early to go to any of the museums. So then we decided we would walk to the Jefferson Memorial, or Monument, or Memorial, whatever it is, and see that, because I had never seen that before. And it's really kind of out of the way. If you haven't been to DC and been to that area, most of the stuff is along the mall, right? So kind of the way that the mall in DC is laid out is you have the Capitol at one end, and then you have kind of a long area that has the Smithsonian museums on either side of this big grassy area, and then you have the Washington Monument, and then you have the big reflecting pool, and then over here you have the Lincoln Memorial. And you have, I think the World War II Memorial is kind of right along this, the midline with the Washington, and you have the Smithsonian's on either side. And so probably from one end to the other, from the Capitol to Lincoln is a mile probably, to walk straight between the two of them. But a lot of stuff is kind of in that area. But the Jefferson one, not at all, not anywhere close. So we walked, to the Jefferson one, and it was really pretty and just very calm and peaceful because it's so far from everything else. There's not a lot of people there. So we did that and then walked back over to the mall and then went to the Air and Space Museum, which we've been to before, but wanted to go again. So we did that, and then we got some lunch, which I think we got at Whole Foods again. I think we went back to the same Whole Foods, got lunch, and then went back to our hotel because we were just completely pooped. And so we did that, and then I had totally forgotten that I have a friend who lives in DC, and I always mean to see her, but it just never has worked out. And I remembered on Friday morning, I was like, oh my gosh, she lives here. I should have totally gotten in contact with her. But I just kind of assumed she'd be busy. She saw one of my pictures that I put on Facebook and she's like, oh my gosh, you're here. Let's do something. So we rested for a little bit at the hotel and then met up with her and her new husband. He's not new to her. They've been dating for a while, but they just got married a couple weeks ago. Met up with her and him, and then we went and got dinner, walked all the way over to where the arena where the hockey team plays and stuff, and ate at this place called Mersey, which if you're in DC, I super duper recommend. It's sort of like Chipotle style Indian food. And so it's you pick your carb, and then you pick your meat, and then you pick your sauce, and then you pick your other stuff. Super good. Highly recommend. Would go back there again. But yeah, we did that and then walked back to the mall and, walked around with them. So yeah, by the end of the day on Friday, we had walked 29,000 steps. Wesley and I were just exhausted. We went back to our hotel and I think we went to bed by 9 or something. And then, yesterday, Saturday, we woke up and I was like, oh, I feel okay until I get out of bed. And then just I put my feet down and I'm like, my feet hurt just so bad. And then, so we got coffee. We went to Starbucks and got coffee. And then we kind of checked out of our hotel, but our train didn't leave until 3, so we had some time to kill. So that's when we went over to DuPont Circle, went to Looped Yarnworks, where this thing came from, went to a bookstore because Wesley wanted to go there, and then we hopped on the metro, went over to Union Station, and waited around for our train to leave. And yeah, then we rode the train back down and got some dinner, and yeah, just had a pretty chill night, and you can leave. Wesley was kind of paranoid about making noise while I'm recording, and so he was looking at me can I walk out of here? Anyway, yeah, so then we just kind of hung out, went to bed early last night and all that. And then today we've been just kind of recovering from the weekend. It's we took a vacation and now we need a vacation from our vacation. Because apparently Wesley and I just don't know how to have a super relaxing vacation, because when we're somewhere we're let's do all the things. But yeah, it was really fun. I really enjoyed it. The only thing I wish we could have done is, and this is just me not knowing about it in advance, but I was looking, at other stuff to go do, and I didn't realize that there's a yarn store in Alexandria, which is kind of south of DC. But still accessible from the metro. So we could have ridden the metro down there and checked out, I think it's called Fiberspace. We could have checked this place out, but we just didn't really have time for it because it's a half-hour ride on the metro each way. So it's that chews up an hour by itself, and by the time I figured it out, we just didn't have time. But that's the only thing I wish we would have done. But of course that's on the list now for next time. Similarly, something we keep meaning to do and then just haven't is, so I mentioned we went to the Air and Space Museum. That's only part of the Smithsonian Air and Space Museum. There's another part that's outside of town. That's I think it's a half-hour drive or something. So we vowed that next time we go up there, we are making it over to that place, because that's where they have the really big stuff that they can't put in the one in DC. So we said that we're either gonna, if we drive up the next time, we will drive over there, or my friend who lives there offered to drive us if we take the train up again. So that's another thing that we need to do next time we go up there. But yeah, that was our trip to DC. This afternoon, this evening, it's getting towards evening, we are going to head over to Target and try and pick up some more holiday decorations. I mentioned last time that, I had found this most perfect tree, but we didn't get it because it was so expensive. We actually did get it because the last time I recorded, right afterwards, I went to Target and they had all of their Christmas trees 50% off. So I managed to get this Christmas tree for like $65 or so. And at that price, it was like, yes, get it. So it's this super beautiful Christmas tree. I will try and maybe take a picture of it after we've gotten some other decorations on it and put that in here if I get that done in time. But yeah, super excited. So now we need to, and it's pre-lit, which is really nice. So now we're going to go get some more other lights for the apartment and like ornaments and stuff for the tree. And I think I might actually knit a tree skirt for it. I might get some more just like big, thick, bulky yarn and just knit up a tree skirt for it because I kind of hate to pay like $40 for a tree skirt when I know I can do it with like $10 worth of yarn. But we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I should stop talking about the things that we're going to do and go do them before it gets to be too late. So that's going to be it for me this week. Yeah. Thank you very much for hanging out with me, and hopefully I will have my thoughts more put together next time. I guess next time is episode 50, so I should think about doing something fancy for that. We'll see. I'll ponder it. But yeah, thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you guys next week for episode 50. Bye.